Thanks for stopping by Big Top Gaming. My name is Brian, and today we're going to talk about how I'm preparing to go to my first War Machine tournament in Mark IV. So, the tournament that I'll be attending is an Iron Gauntlet qualifier that's taking place at Dragonfall Con in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. The particular tournament that I'll be attending is on October 4th, but the convention spans from the 3rd to the 5th of October. Now, Dragonfall Con labels themselves as a charity gaming festival, so they have raised over $24,000 for Doctors Without Borders, Extra Life, and son of a gun, what was the last one? Feeding America, sorry. And their website could use some updating, but it definitely seems like a fun convention to go to. They do a lot of GW stuff, so big 40K and Age of Sigmar presence, but they also make space for like Star Wars Shatterpoint, Bushido, and a couple other of the non-GW games, including War Machine. I also wanted to mention that this is their 11th convention they've run here. Well, maybe not in Lake Geneva. I think they were somewhere in Illinois first, but this is the 11th Dragon Con, from what I understand. Or Dragonfall Convention, sorry, Jeepers Creepers. So I'm kicking off my Mark IV tournament experience with Khador Winter Corps, and the gist of the way I want the video to run is I'm going to be spending some time talking about the 5 lists that I'm kind of in between, and go over maybe my thought process on how I'm picking between these lists. I'm not experienced enough in War Machine Mark IV yet to be throwing around competitive tournament advice, but hopefully looking at how I, as a returning player, kind of process this information might be of use to you, and maybe somebody in the comments can help me figure out something if I've built like a terrible list or just completely overlooked something. So this is the first list that I'm going to talk about, and it's the one that I'm considering my primary list. This is one that I kind of have locked in, at least not all the pieces, but the concept of the list. So this is going to be running Captain Zahara Vilkul. She's got Medveditsa in her battle group along with Razor. I'm bringing one Bison, then also bringing Carver Ultimus with the Warboar MMD-47. And I'm also bringing along 2 Winter Corps officers to support some of my important pieces, a unit of Arcanists so that I can fuel the battle group without taking a lot of juice from Zahara. And I'm bringing 2 units of Shock Trooper Gunners, the Hounds, and a unit of Winter Corps Snipers with the Winter Corps Hunting Dog attached to them. So the gist with this list is to kind of, first I have a decent time into single wound infantry if there's a presence there with that. I also have the flexibility to go into a lot of medium bases pretty well. I think the Shock Trooper Gunners can put some effort or put some damage into those along with Big Pig. But really the core of the function of this list is to kind of bait my opponent into engaging the middle of the table. I don't want to commit deep into the middle to try and start peace trades, or at least not give up my pieces to bait peace trades, if that makes sense. So what I'm looking to do is leverage the range of the Bison, leverage the range of Big Pig, and along with the snipers to take some long-range shots to start chipping away at my opponent to the point where they kind of have to start coming forward. And with those long-range guns, I have the ability to get some type of reposition on most of those if they don't already have it. So I can try and go up, project the threat, take the shot, and then back up a little bit to try and make that gap a little wider for my opponent. But then once they start coming in, if they start taking things like maybe they start taking off the snipers, I can have a Avenging Force from the rack on Vilkul to try and get her or one of her battle group up forward, and then start punishing my opponent for doing that. If they allow me to kind of sandpaper their army, it gets to the point where Vilkul can kind of make a spot for herself to try and come in and assassinate something. And I specifically didn't say Warcaster or Warlock. I think that this list is good at assassinating pieces, so I can kind of pick the things that I want to go for and take them off the table. With that, when we start stacking up all the fun stuff on Vilkul, we can use like hit and run to give her reposition. That will let her charge, beat something up, have Swift Hunter from the Winter Corps officer to back up a little bit, then Cyclone back, and then reposition back. So there's a lot of asymmetrical piece trading that can happen with this list. With the 14 inches on some of the better guns, I mean, like snipers are whatever, but if the Bison does some big damage but not enough to kill, the snipers can clean up with their auto points. So that's kind of the gist with this list. I think Zahara brings a lot of really cool things on her card. She can shut down armor buffs through magic with her ward breaker attacks. She's got 2 melee attacks that are weapon masters, so she can with Swift Hunter from the Winter Corps officer can make sure that she's backing up or burying herself in deeper a little bit. She's just all around good. She's got great defensive stats at 16-15 with a Mat and Rat of 7, along with being able to shoot on top of that with the POW 13 Throne Axe. So there's just a lot to Zahara that makes me feel like she's always really in control of the game, and with that feat that allows her to deliver things if your opponent doesn't have good access to being able to see through clouds, I think that it makes her a really difficult thing to work around for an opponent who is well practiced at the game of Warmachine. I also want to give special mention to some of the other techie things that Vilcool has access to. With Field Marshal Prowl and having Fog of War in the rack for Khador or for Winter Corps, we can do some cool things with being able to put up that Fog of War if it's valuable. Like if we can stealth our battle group and just escort it up the table against an opponent who doesn't have a good answer to stealth, it can be pretty powerful. And if it gets to the point where it's so powerful that we should really be leveraging Weld Secrets to get that on the Big Pig, then that just kind of makes it more difficult for our opponent to interact with us, so we can do a lot of that like sandpapering or asymmetrical piece trading pretty easily by putting stealth on everything, so it's difficult to get through with guns. The second list I'm tossing around is going to be Ekaterina with a Mastodon and a Direwolf in her battle group, and the Direwolf, is really low. It's the lowest points I could possibly get on it so that I could just have an extra arc node running around. But we also are bringing Alexia, Queen of the Damned, Exelon Nostilla, and Aberration, along with Kolden Lord Damian Korovnik. Then we've got Zarya Volkova. I'm sorry, that's the first time I've had to say her name. Magziv Zarya Volkova. A unit of Arcanists to keep those jacks full. And then 2 units of Shock Trooper Gunners, again, along with the Hounds. So there are some pieces that are duplicated from the last list here, and part of that, there's a couple reasons for it. First, I want to try and get painted for this event, so utilizing a lot of the duplicate models helps me out for that, considering it's a week away and I don't have a full single list painted. The Hounds, I feel like, are ubiquitous for Winter Corps, so they're going to stay in here as well. But then I bring in a revive package, and I'm not so sure. I feel like the Shock Trooper Gunners with the revive package between Alexia's Grim Returns and Exelon Nostilla is pretty decent. The Shock Trooper Gunners can spread out pretty wide enough with reposition 2 that it's difficult for the opponent to get all of them with something unless they have the right tools for it. But then Alexia and Nostilla can bring them back, because I feel like if you touch a Shock Trooper Gunner with something, they're gonna die. They're armored, but they're not armored, in my opinion. So I think you can take them out pretty well with them only being at 5 boxes. But those 2 units between Alexia and Nostilla, being able to fuel them back up, if your opponent doesn't kill all of them, then they're going to have a rough time, especially if that Direwolf is up there, because I did put the Shield Guard head on them. So if your opponent starts shooting off Shock Trooper Gunners and gets down to that last little bit where they can't take the last one off, a good Shield Guard will make sure that that last one stays around so you can keep the revive package going. I do have a lot of movement garbage in here, so like if I can get an arc-noted Gallows off that can then pull someone into Damian's spell-slaved Gallows, and then also Nostilla's Dark Seduction, I can pull some pieces and do a lot of cute things. So this is another one where I feel like Khador's ranged game is really where it's at these days, and being able to pull some of those pieces out with weird tricks and different vectors is kind of cool. Plus, I absolutely want to play the Mastodon, so I feel like Ekaterina does a really good job with the Mastodon since we can protect it. And I don't have like a really great like reasoning for the weapons. I like the Great Axe because POW 23 is good, and the two shoulder mounted guns I did deep freezers because they just have the extra range. And then I think for the little gun mounted on the underside of the arm, I chose the volume fire one if I remember right. But my problem with this list is that if I present Ekaterina and Vilcool, I don't know if I give my opponent a good enough question to figure out which list they want to drop. I feel like they kind of have a pretty good idea of what they need to drop into this. And that's what's kind of keeping me away from it. But I have played a few games with Ekaterina already, and I really do like the way that she functions, but I am looking forward to putting a big Mastodon on the table. The third list that I'm tossing around is what I would consider my more conservative Tatiana Sikora list. This one is the list that it doesn't look like I built it after I just got done building 1,500 models with super glue. But her battle group holds an Avalanche and a Medveditsa. And then we bring along a Bison along with that Resurrection package or Revive package of Alexia, Queen of the Damned, and Exelon Nostilla. And we have the Winter Corps officer to babysit either Tatiana or the Bison. I guess really it could be put on whatever, because we also are bringing Man-O-War in this list. So we get to utilize the Winter Corps officer to help out whichever Man-O-War needs it at the time. But then we bring along a unit of Man-O-War suppressors, a unit of Man-O-War wrecking crew, the Hounds, and then the snipers. The snipers are kind of in here with the Bison again to kind of see the trend. They want to start some of that long range shooting right away so that I can try and pull my opponent in. The Avalanche with Medveditsa and Tatiana has Avenging Force on her like normal spell list, so she doesn't have to rack it. So having that gives me some extra range and reach with those. Like I could toss the Avalanche up into a corner somewhere and be perfectly fine as long as I could keep it in Tatiana's control, unless I feel like I'm taking a really big piece for it. With all of this kind of nudging my opponent forward, that gives Aberration and the suppressors with Wrecking Crew the time they need to get up the table. Tatiana also can Desperate Pace one of the Man-O-War units, so there's the extra threat there, the extra distance they can get there that can really help them out. Fortunes of War as her feat gives all the Man-O-War Unyielding, along with, I guess it gives the Jax Unyielding too. And then we get those rerolls for attack rolls for the feat as well. So this is just like I think this one maybe might pair better with the Vilcool list, because between Positive Charge and the extra hitting power that I get between Avalanche, Medveditsa, and Aberration, I can get some extra armor cracking going on, whereas I don't know if Ekaterina can really do that kind of lift. But these are very different lists, at least in my opinion, this list is very different from the one that I have as Vilcool. So I think that it's a good pair, but it's not the wild one that I'll be talking about next. You want to strap in because this is where things start going off the rails a little bit. This is my other Tatiana list, and she's got a little bit bigger of a battle group this time. We're bringing along that Avalanche and Medveditsa still, but we decided to flop in a Mastodon. Along with that, we kind of lose out on the Resurrection package that we had earlier, but we're just kind of going nuts with armor in this list and models that do stuff. So we've got Magziv or Volkova again, because I think she almost needs to be in any list that has a Mastodon, just so we can get that ancillary attack. You're paying a lot of points for the Mastodon, and being able to pay 4 more points to be able to shoot that gun twice is really good. We've got the Arcanists because we're going to need them. I probably would have taken a second unit if I could have afforded it. But we also have 2 of the Man-O-War units, 1 Suppressor, 1 Wrecking Crew, just so that we can get that Desperate Pace going and kind of create a speed bump between us and the battle group. And we do have the Hounds here just to do some extra work, maybe pick up some sides or flanks or flank pieces and try and bully the scenario a little bit, just because we're going to be having a hard time keeping up without having a whole lot of flexibility in this list. But really the reason why I have the Mastodon in here first, I mean, again, I wanted to play a Mastodon at this tournament this weekend, and it's kind of looking like this might be the list that I land on. But putting positive charge on a Mastodon just seems really cool to me, to have this huge, like, I think it's like a 7-ish inch bubble of positive charge. That way we can kind of have the Mastodon in the middle, and then have the Avalanche and Medveditsa coming in. If you've triggered Hand of Vengeance somehow, then Medveditsa's swinging at like POW 22, which is really nice. And being able to get Unyielding when we unpack and bury in should be a nice way to keep these jacks around a bit. So I don't know how this list would work. It seems really light in a lot of areas in a scenario packet that you want to spread out in. But it just seems fun, and it might be the one that I land on, and you'll be able to tell that I'm just there for a good time, not a successful time. Since we've gotten aboard the crazy train, the last list I want to talk about is one that I don't think I can take, but I will want to build this in the future. I also can't claim credit for the build on this list. I had found this while lurking around in Discord, and the person who built it was kind of inspired by one of the lists, I believe, that had taken shape at Welsh Masters. It was a Gravediggers player who had like 4 units of Rangers and then a bazillion of whatever jack it is they use. I haven't really looked too much into it. But at any rate, we're looking at Valeri Savarin, who has 1 Direwolf and then 3 Great Bears, along with Medveditsa. So we got a battle group with 5 Warjacks in it, and I couldn't be happier with that. But then to round out the list, we have 2 units of Arcanists to make sure that those jacks are full when we send them in. And then we finish off with 4 units. That's right, 4 units of Winter Corps infantry with autocannons, and they also have enough points for the Winter Corps standard to make sure that they're all getting that inspiration. So I am enamored with this list. I cannot wait to put it on the table. I don't think it'll be at Dragonfall Con that I do this, but I think it's really neat, and it makes sense. I mean, 5 Warjacks is a lot to crush through, especially when these Warjacks can actually do work with those Arcanists holding them up. And with 4 Winter Corps infantry, they can basically kind of pick apart or pick on whatever kind of unit they want to. They can do damage with their combined ranged attacks into battle group models. They can take out medium-based infantry if they combine their shots well. And then when you have that added to the flexibility of kill order, and you can kind of also get a little bit more risky with your kill order plays because your opponent has a body of Warjacks and Winter Corps infantry to go through, and that just the list just is so, it's simple, but it's so cool. I love it to death. And you're able to get like a shield guard unit if you want it to keep some of the jacks around, and with the flexibility of the rack for Valeri, if you need the extra distance on Avenging Force, you've got an Escort plus Avenging Force plus Tides of War hanging around to try if you want to try and get more out of repositioning. But then you have like the flexibility on Puissance or Superiority if you need one of these jacks to make sure they're going in and doing work. Like you can rocket one in every turn. I just think it's a really cool list, and I'm really looking forward to playing it. And I'm glad I got to use this platform to kind of not introduce it to the world, because I, again, claim no ownership over this. I'm just a very huge fan, and I think that as soon as any Winter Corps player sees 4 Winter Corps banners on the table, I think true Khadorans will have a single tear roll down their eyes as they see the beauty that is 4 of those standards just running around the table, supported by the true steel of Khador with all of these Warjacks. I'm just enamored with this list, head over heels. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It at least helps me to say a lot of these things out loud so that I can kind of make sense of what I want to be doing while I'm going into this event, and gives me a chance to review my own stuff to make sure I'm just not putting this together while I'm half asleep and then showing up with the models. But I look forward to your feedback in terms of like do you think any of my lists are missing something, or, is there something you're trying that's different from mine that might help me out with trying to find a good pair for Vilcool within this cesspool of stuff that I'm working with? I do plan on bringing my video camera to the convention, and hopefully I can try and get some live footage, or not live footage, like actual footage of the games that I'm playing, and then try and do like an after tournament report to kind of go over like, here's the things that I did, here's what I was thinking when I made this move, or here's how it punished me, here's how it was really good. Or, I think I can sit here and talk about the game ad nauseum, but until you actually get to see the models on the table and see the process of what I'm trying to do with them, especially the mistakes that I make, I think that's where Warmachine really truly happens. So look forward to that. I shall be putting that out as soon as I recover from going through a very long tournament. I think they're playing until there's an undefeated, and last I checked there were 17 signups for it, so it starts at 8:30. It seems like it's going to be a long day for me, and I am not going to get to a point where I'm going to drop and try and make the 2-hour drive back home. So I'm going all the rounds that need to be gone through, but I look forward to kind of like showing my experience at this convention. So again, thanks for watching and putting up with my rambling as I show you my lists that may or may not just fail me.